If you're a data analyst, then you already know that every great dashboard starts with clean data, no matter how beautiful your dashboard looks. If your data isn't properly cleaned and transformed, your insights won't be reliable. So in today's video, I had the opportunity to sit down with Chiamaka, a Power BI developer and a Microsoft certified trainer, who shared practical Power Query techniques using real-world datasets. So if you're looking to clean data more efficiently and improve your Power Query workflow, then this video is for you. Let's get right into it.
Today we're going to be looking at Power Query in Power BI, which if you're a Power BI developer, you must have encountered. There is also Power Query in Excel. And today we're going to be looking at the features within Power Query, as well as steps to improve your data cleaning process using Power Query. So the first thing that we're going to be doing here on the interface of Power Query is to import our data. New source. We're going to be working mostly with Excel file, Excel workbook. And I have this data set here. I'm going to import this first. Click open. So this opens another interface for us to select the sheets that we're going to be working with. So we're going to be working with these 5 sheets for this first part of the demo. The dental, transaction, quarterly sales, regional sales, and project. Then click OK. So the data, they've all been imported. So I'm just quickly going to refresh all this. Refresh all. So the first one is a dental data set. And let's just continue with exploring the interface of this Power Query. So looking at the View tab, for instance, we have the query settings. The query settings is actually this apply step here. So if I turn this off, it removes that. Then we also have the formula bar, which is this particular part here. You can turn it off and on, as the case may be. Then next we have monospace. This helps you with a different font in order to be able to read your data clearly if you want that aspect. Then the next one is to show white space, in the sense that there are some times that when you download your data, just like now that we have this data, you might not know if this data contains white space in each column. So when you enable this aspect, you can see that for location now, this Miami has a white space between it and the line here, right? And this particular stuff is important that you remove this white space, because this is a location data and a categorical data, which most times you are going to be using on a slicer to be able to filter your data. So in this case, if I load this data like this Miami and this Miami will be showing at 2 different data. And that is not what we want. We want it to show just one single thing. Then also, I think I have another one here. Also on the patient side, we have that same issue on the patient side as well. So we need to remove this. In order to remove this, we have a function in Power Query known as the trim. When you go to transform, and rather, when you right click on this directly for now, you have this transform aspect of things, then trim and clean. So it's advisable that for all your categorical data, when you import them, all your categorical column, just trim and clean it in order not to have white space. Then cleaning, what cleaning does is that some data, when you import it, it might have some characters that are not visible to the eyes. So clean helps you to remove that data, especially when you are importing data from a database. So when you trim and clean, you are able to like avoid such occurrences. So right now I'm going to select location, hold down Control key and select patient type, then right click, transform, then trim, also clean. Now you can see that we no longer have that white space here, and we also don't have the white space showing here. So that's the first step. Now, also looking at the two columns in question, you can see that the letters actually, they're not in proper case. Some are in uppercase, some are in lower case. So you need to normalize this. To normalize this, we also have the option within the transform, then click on format to capitalize each word in this case. So now for patient type, you can see that it is now in proper case, and location also is in proper case. So the next thing that we're going to do, still looking at the view tab, we have the column quality. When you turn this on, it helps you to understand each of the individual columns better. So right now you can see within here, it's telling me the percentage of valid ones, percentage that is error, and percentage that is empty. So right now we don't have any empty, we don't have any one that has error in this case. But when you look down, actually, you can see that this column profiling is based on top 1,000. So it's advisable when you're trying to profile or check the quality of your columns, just change it to based on entire data set so that you can see things hidden in numbers above 1,000. So when you check round, we don't have any empty, we don't have any error. This part is also still loading. Yeah, everything has loaded now. So we don't have any empty and error. Then the next one is column distribution. When you toggle this on, these are things that helps you to understand your columns. So it tells you the number of distinct and number of unique, especially for your identifier columns, which in our case is the appointment ID. You can see that this has 2,000 distinct and 1954 unique, telling us that there is a duplicate in our identifier column. And as you can see from here now, we have these two showing here. So we are going to actually try to explore further to know if this is actually a duplicate or not, and know the number of duplicate rows that we have within our data. So to do that, I'm going to right click on this dental, duplicate this particular query, go over to my home tab, click on group by, and you have the basic and advanced. Advanced helps you to group by multiple columns, which is what I want to do. I'm going to click on advanced, add grouping, then the first one is going to be on the appointment ID. Then next is going to be on the appointment date, and also group based on the revenue in USD. So I want to count the number of rows. So this will help us to know the number of rows that are actually duplicates. So I'll click OK. Right. Then filter this. If it is one, it shows that it shows just one time. But if it is two, it shows that this is actually a duplicate row. Then click OK. Filter for two. So you can see that these 8 appointment IDs are duplicates. So the next thing that you're going to do is to go over to dental report in this case, identify these 8 and check them manually to be sure that they are duplicate, then remove them. So that's the way for you to be able to identify duplicate rows within your data. So let me just delete this. And while we are still at dental data, let's go back to view and continue exploring. So the next one is the column profile. This helps with to tell you the statistical analysis, sort of a little bit of statistics regarding your individual columns. So for this client ID, you have the count, number empty, number distinct unique. If it's an empty string, the min and max for this. Then if it is for a numeric column, let me reduce this. If it is for a numeric column, for instance, let's see, revenue. Okay. It tells you the mean, max, average, and standard deviation for that. So it gives you a little statistics for each individual columns when you click on them. Also, you can do table profiling. This is just for column profiling. Table profiling is for the entire table, and you can do that within your data. But for this, you need to write mQuery. mQuery is the language that you use over here in Power Query. In Power BI, you have DAX and mQuery. And mQuery, it's kind of complex anyway, but with the LLMs that we have and ChatGPT and all of that, you can easily learn how to write it. So for this case, I want to do table profiling. What I can do here is to add a new function. And here I'm going to just type table dot profile. I can see it there. Yeah. Then put this in brackets, then enter. So it's trying to run. And now you can see that we have like a profile of our data set. So these are the individual columns within the data. It gives you the mean and the max, the average, the standard deviation. If it is a numeric part, the count, the number of null count, and distance count. So you can do this to also understand your data. So all these, the first column here shows you the whole columns within your data. Then you can trace them horizontally to see the mean, max, average, and standard deviation. So that's another way of understanding your data. And the next thing that we're going to be looking at is, let me just remove this for now, is the transactions table. So within the transaction table, we also have the white spaces that you can see here and on these two columns. But the first thing that we're going to do first is you can see that the column header is not our appropriate column header. We have it in row 1. So we're going to promote our header. So we're going to use first row as header. Okay, then trim this like we did before. Hold down the shift key because we want to trim the first 3 so that we can select the 3 of them. Right click, then transform, trim, and clean. But you can see here that the product column in this case still has some questionable characters within it. You can remove this also using a simple UI aspect. We have the split column by delimiter. So I will right click on this and transform. Okay. Oh, right click on this because I actually highlighted 3. So that is why I saw limited things. Yeah. Right click on this, split column by delimiter. Our delimiter in our case is going to be pound key. So I'm going to select this pound key and click OK. So you can see that it has splitted it into 5 different columns. For this column 5 and column 4, we don't have anything on them. So I'm going to delete that. and also column 2, you can only see that we have something on column 3. This green and gray part, the gray aspect is telling you the percentage that is empty. Green aspect is telling you the one that has values. So 2, 4, and 5, they don't have values at all. So I'm going to remove 2, 4, and 5. Right click and remove them. So we are left with 1 and 2, which if we want to now merge together, we are going to hold down products. 1 and 3. Yeah, 1 and 3. For 1 and 3, right click, then merge columns. Then rename this as products in this case. Then click OK. So, but looking at our apply step, initially we stopped at clean text. So you can see that in order to just clean this one table, we have added 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, which is quite a lot. These 4 steps can actually be achieved in just one step, right? And in Power Query, when working with Power Query, try as much as possible to reduce the number of your steps, which will improve the performance of your report if you are trying to scale your report. So in this case, instead of doing these 4 different things, I'm going to delete all of them. Then go back to where I have my trim text, which is where I removed the space. So I can also reference this particular one. You can see from the format pane, this is where we remove the space when trimming. So I'm going to reference this one and tell it also for products, instead of just removing the space, also remove any occurrence of pound key. So to do that, over here, I'm going to edit this, each. Then text.trim in each of these for products. Iterate all of them. Underscore shows iteration, comma. Okay. So I will have my curly bracket. Then the first part, remove pound key wherever you see pound key. Then the second part, remove space wherever you see space. So I'll just click on enter. You can see automatically it has been removed. So instead of having the multiple steps that we have, and you can see the number of steps that we have, right? And this can perform faster than the other one. And the next thing basically is going to be on this dental aspect of things. Within Power Query, you can add columns and you can also remove columns, right? So when you click on this add column aspect, you have different columns, column from example, custom column, conditional column, and all. We're just going to look at a few. So for custom column, within this particular data, we have the staff cost and the equipment cost. If you want to know the total cost, you can easily add these two. So you can use a custom column to add the two. So I'm going to name this total cost. And I have my staff cost in start plus the equipment cost. Insert that as well, then click OK. So you can see our new table, which is basically addition of these two to get our total cost. So that is one way for you to add a new column, and you do that by also writing mQuery within the custom column. You can also add the conditional column. In this case, if I want to, for my revenue, I want to create a revenue flag. So I want to flag revenue that is greater than 500 USD. So I'm going to reference that this is just like your if statement. If this particular column, that is our revenue USD column, is greater than, you have your greater than 500, then give me the output of greater than 500 USD. As greater than 500. Then click OK. Oh, I need to add the else. Right now, because I not add else, that's why I have null. So what if I don't see this? What should I have? So else I will have less than 500. Then click OK. You can see here, this is what we currently have. And in order to compare that this actually gave us what is supposed to, I am going to drag the revenue to this and you can reorder. So here that we have it, let's just stop here. You can see this 346 is less than 500, 826 is greater than 500. So this is actually giving us the output that we expected. Then the next thing that we're going to be looking at with add column, you can see that we can add, there are two ways of the transformation. Okay.
I don't know if it's how we typed it or it's not an issue. The space, I think
Yeah, the space between the less than 500. Oh, this is just demonstration actually. You can always go back here and edit it. Right. It's because I actually, within the less than 500, I actually added space.
Yeah.
So you can go over and edit it as well, and it will actually give you what you expect. You can see it's, yeah, it fits now. So there are some transformations that you can do within that you can do, and it will add column for you. And there are some that when you do that, it will not add column for you. So let's look at this transaction table, for instance. So assuming I want to have just my first name within here, one way to do that is to use extract on transform data. So I'll click on the customer name, extract, and I have text before delimiter. That should be it. Text before delimiter. When I extract it, the limiter in this case is space because we have space there. Then click OK. You can see that we have the first name from this. But the thing is that it is going to work on that particular column without adding another column for me. But if I want to have a separate column for my first name, let me delete this. Especially if you are working on a data set that you're going to send email to those your newsletter subscribers. You know, when you are sending email, you are sending email to first name. And I want both the full name and the first name in my data. I will use the add column aspect of things. So you can see extract here. So you might be wondering, when do I now use extract and when do I use transform extract? Transform extract changes the column, while add column extract adds a new column for you. So I'm going to use this extract for this now, text before delimiter. Delimiter also is still space. Now you can see that we have it here. You can now rename this as first name. So we have two tables, columns on names. And you can now continue using this. Another thing I want to highlight here is the importance of batch renaming. Just like I showed earlier, the importance of not having multiple steps. So within Power BI, the first time that we imported this, we could see that Power Query changed type for us. And if I come down here again and, excuse me, if I come down here again and, okay, let me not use change type in this case. Let me just say that within this particular step, you can add steps and reorder steps anyway. So within this particular step, after added custom column, I renamed here. I renamed this, let me say wait time by removing the underscore and having just space in between. insert. Then down here, after reordered column, let me click on this again. And now start again to, what's going on? Where did I rename? Added condition. Oh, I reordered. Let me remove this reorder. Okay. So after renaming here on this step, you can see that after adding conditional column, and I decide to rename again appointment ID. You can see that Power Query has added another step, renamed 1. If I continue renaming on each step and all, it will continue rename 2 and rename 3. And these are all the things I can do in one simple step. So that is why it's good for you. There are some series of steps that you want to do at once. One of them is renaming. Another one is change type. It's good for you to change type at once, except it's important for that particular step. And renaming, except it's important that you create it again. If it is not important, just go back to the previous one and rename all of them at once. So instead of renaming this appointment ID here, I would delete this, go over to this stage, and rename everything I want to rename. Rename it, change it. So now if I edit this to be appointment space ID, insert, you can see that it's added to the formula bar. So if you are renaming everything, all of them will be showing here at once. This is very good because it will also help in maintaining this report. If you're giving this report to someone else, the person will see, oh, you renamed everything at this particular step. Not that you have the sprinkles of renaming here and there within your query. So it's good for maintainability. So that is that for that. Then the next thing, actually, let's look at the next query that we have here, which is quarterly sales. So within this quarterly sales, Power Query has imported, and you can see that our first 3 rows are basically null, which is basically because of the way it is in Excel. We don't need the first 3 rows. So you can remove that by clicking on home, remove rows, remove top rows. How many rows do I want to remove? 3 in this case. Click OK. Right. Then you can promote the first row now as header. Use first row as header. So right now within this code, within this query, you can see that query 3, column 3, there is nothing on it. And total, we don't need total within Power BI because of the fact that Power BI always, it's advisable for you to create measures for your total. So we don't need total and column 3. So we need to remove these 2 columns. There are different ways to do that. The first one, which most people might actually do, especially for beginners, right click on total, remove. Then you also have column 3, remove. So over here, you can see that your formula bar is recording that you remove these 2 columns. So assuming that within your data, of course, this is an Excel file that people have access to. What if someone in the future comes in and removes this, deletes this column 3 within your data? You find out that when you reload this, it is going to break. This is what I mean. When I go over to this, let me enable editing in this case. So this is the data here, and this is that column 3. So if I go over to this now, and delete this column 3, then save this, go over to Power Query and refresh. We are trying to simulate what might happen in the future. So refresh all. You can see it has broken because there is no column 3. So one way, there are 2 ways for you to handle this. One way is for you to always add, when you do a remove, when you're doing things like remove, rename, and reorder, for instance, always add an extra expression to your function, which in this case is missing field.ignore.
Okay.
This will help you such that if something like this happen in the future, it's not going to affect your code.
Oh. Okay, so I have a question. So how about in the case that maybe you decide to just choose columns?
Yeah, that is actually another way. That is actually
So that
another
one you
way
don't need
for
to
you
add this
to.
missing field.
No, you don't need to add missing field
Oh.
for that particular one. Let me see what's going on here. What is happening? Okay, this is supposed to. Hang on, please. So remove top rows. Then the next thing is to promote first rows as header. So I'm going to click on use first rows as header. And you can see that Power BI has changed type for us. I'm going to remove this change type step. It's going to be what I'm going to do at the end of the day. Just like I mentioned earlier, it's good for you to do everything at once. Because Power BI automatically adds change type whenever you promote headers. So even if I do another change here and all that requires change type again, to automatically add for me and I'll have multiple ones. So I'm going to delete this for now. The next thing is to remove the columns that I don't need, which is total in this case, because we can calculate that using DAX, and column 3, which is obviously empty. You can see everything is gray. So I'm going to select column 3 and this one, right click and remove, which is like the first way that most people knew with Power BI and Power Query remove columns. But the thing is that because the formula referenced the two columns, imagine if someone, of course, this is an Excel file that you're sharing with someone. Imagine if the person comes in the future and just deletes any empty rows within the Excel file, it's going to break your query. So it is not good for you to reference this directly within your query. What I mean by that is if I go over to this Excel file, which is what I'm referencing, you can see the column 3 that we removed. So assuming someone comes in here tomorrow and deletes this particular column 3, see this, then I refresh my report the next day, refresh all. Right, you can see automatically this has broken my code because I referenced it in the step that I'm using. So one way for you to avoid this is to, whenever you remove step and reorder steps or replace step, try to add this missing field.ignore, such that if that particular field tends to be missing in the future, it's not going to break your code. You can see here now that because of the missing field.ignore, even if I remove, even though that I removed the column 3 from our data, it did not break the code. Another way for you to be able to avoid this particular issue, let me remove this, is by choosing the columns that you want. In this case, choose column, choose columns. I want rep name, region sales, Q1, Q2, Q3. I don't want total. Yeah, I think this is the one. Yeah, exactly. So you can see it removes other rows. So it's only referencing what is always going to be present. So the columns that you know will always have data, not the ones that might be empty. It's going to reference them so that even if the ones that are empty, it's not referencing your code and it's not going to break your code. Now at the end of the day, you can now change type. So I can change the rep name now to text, change the region to text, Q1 sales to fixed decimal, Q2 sales to fixed decimal as well, and Q3 sales to replace current step, and Q3 sales to fixed decimal. So you have just one change type row. So that is that for that. Then the next thing is for you to also see some columns, especially if you have a large data model, you're working with an enterprise data model that has a couple of columns and you want to see them. Instead of scrolling left and right and all, imagine if you have like 50 rows, you're trying to find one. Instead of scrolling this way, you can use go to column. We have that option here, go to column, which arranges it in a nice way. If I want to see my identity ID, I can just click OK and it automatically takes me to that particular part. Another way for you to see everything within your data is to click on this particular part, the index aspect of things. It highlights the whole row and it arranges it in this particular format for you. So you can as well see the whole columns within your data and an example of the data, right? You can scroll up and down, which is easier than scrolling left and right. And the next part that we're going to be looking at is the regional sales query. For this particular query, within Power Query, you can also pivot and unpivot. So this is kind of a similar pivot table in Excel. You can see the way it is written, January, February, and all. Power BI cannot work with a long table, a flat table this way. It's better long on the vertical side of things and not the horizontal. So you need to unpivot this. You can do that by clicking on the first one, which is January in this case. Hold down the shift key to select everything, then to June, right click and unpivot columns. So now you have the month name. You can now rename month name, and then the sales. This is the sales column, which is better to work with. Then the next thing is on this last table that we have here, which is project table. So imagine if you have a project data where you have the project timeline, and you can see over here that you have the first row. This is the first row, right? And within week 1, planning is supposed to happen in week 2 and week 3. So meaning that within this, we need to fill this so that planning will also be in week 2 and planning should also be in week 3, right? But the thing is that Power Query cannot fill left and right. You can only, if I right click on this, you can only fill up and down. But in this case, we want to fill left and right. One way for you to be able to achieve this is to, right now that we have it this way, I'm going to click on transform, then transpose, right? Now that I've transposed, you can see now that I have the ability to fill up and down. To fill what you can see our week 1 now. So when we fill down now, you can see that planning will now enter week 2 and week 3. So yeah, so I'm going to click this, hold down the control key to the end. Hold down the shift key in this case because I want to fill a whole lot of things. Cancel. Oh, the end we have I'm not reordering what's going on here. The end we have 3 columns that we want to remove, right? These 3 columns, there's nothing there. Yeah, remove columns. Then I am now going to fill this. So from 2, I will hold down the control key, the shift key in this case, then to 10. What is wrong? Okay, it doesn't want me to hold down the shift key. It's reordering. Yeah, let me just do it one after the other. instead of, so select column 4, 5. Yeah. But in the norms, I don't know why this is happening today, but normally when you hold down the shift key, you can select everything from beginning to end of where you want. So it's just that I think it has a mind of its own today. Yeah. Unable to get. That's bad. Okay. Oh, the same. How about we do maybe 2 or 3? Let me just do, yeah, exactly. Let me just do 4 up to 4, then fill down. Let me just fill down. Let me just fill this down. Right. So you can see automatically that I have this field for this first 4. Then afterwards, what you're going to do is to still transpose again. So our test case now is week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. You can see they are all filled now. Right. Yeah. Then I am going to, after that, you are going to use first row as header. And continue working with your data, right? So that is one good use case. So because of the fact we don't have ability to fill left and right, this is one workaround. And the next thing we are going to look at, which is going to be on a CSV file. So we have the CSV file now, grocery inventory. Click open. And click OK to import. So we have this. When you look at the advanced editor for this, you can still write mQuery on this advanced editor side of things. So you can see that it's referencing the file content that we have. And over here, it's telling me that there are 16 columns. And you can see this is hard-coded. Imagine in the future, if you have another column added, making it 17 or 18 in this case, this is automatically going to break our import mode. So what you're going to do, which is a good practice, whenever you're importing a CSV file, after importing, ensure that you go over to the advanced editor and remove this aspect. What this does is that it makes it dynamic so that even if you import multiple columns, it's not going to break. Then click done. Now that we have added another data set to this, you can look at your data set dependencies. When you go over to view, you have query dependencies here. This shows you different data sources that you're connected to and which query is what servicing which, and or you have different layout. This is like the first one, but this is the better one that I usually use. You can see the first data source that we use is actually filling these first 5 queries, and this last one that we just imported is showing us the query that is filling, so that it will help in maintenance as well to know the direct source of the queries that are filling what. Then finally, we're going to be looking at how, if you're transferring this data to someone, how the person can easily connect to it. Because right now, this is referencing, when you look at this first one, is referencing my, let me see the data source here. When you click at this gear icon to see the data source, it's referencing the data within my local machine. So if I share this report to someone, here is automatically going to show error because the person doesn't have the same local machine as myself. So in order to ensure that someone can easily plug and play and start using the data that you've shared, the report that you shared with them, you can make this a parameter. So to do that, I'm going to copy this data source here. That's the part of my data. And I'm going to click on manage parameter here. I'm supposed to click on new parameter anyway. So I can still create new one here as well. So new parameter, in this case, is going to be data source 1, because we now have 2 data sources. Then what type is going to be a text data type, current value. I'm going to paste this. That's the Excel file that is fueling it. Then go over to, you can see it has created a parameter and this is the current value. Then go over to this first one, change the data source. So instead of hard coding it directly, I'm using a parameter that I created as the data source one. Click OK. Yeah. Okay. Now it has finished loading. Exactly, it has. So when you now look at the advanced editor side of things for that particular one that I changed, you can see that it's referencing the data source parameter. So what this does is that when I share this data with someone and the person puts their own, it automatically picks it up. So for the first 5 that we created using this data source, you can click on them individually and change them like I did. So that is the end of this. Yeah. Wow. So that's the end of this particular explanation. And I think I've been using PowerPoint for years, but I'm just sharing some things for the first time today. I'm feeling like oh wow. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.